Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to Yoga with Lynn and Leo.
And welcome to day 2 of our foundation course. And today we're going to go through 5 poses which are going to help you with your mobility and your flexibility to give you a good standing for your yoga practice.
Yes, so hopefully you'll have done lesson 1 that we did previously to this and got a little bit of movement going on in your body. And you just have to keep practicing and make sure that your practice is consistent, and eventually everything will become easier than it is at the moment.
Yes, it does show up all the stiffnesses to start with, so do keep it going. Alright, so coming onto your mat, our first pose is Supta padangusthasana. So we're going to take the leg up to 90 degrees, but before we do that, I want you to just take a little bit of time in your preparation. So in the supine action, you're going to gradually stretch these legs until they become straight. So be on your heels and scrape them along the mat with resistance. With resistance. Go and see it extending. Go on lengthening the legs gradually. Now what's very important in this action is that when you raise the leg, you have to keep the downward leg absolutely straight and strong, as if it's weighted down towards the floor. And this will help to open the groins. And it takes practice. So bend your right leg to start with, taking the belt around the ball of the foot and extending the leg up to 90 degrees. So you may find when you first start that this 90-degree angle is difficult to keep your legs straight. So what I would suggest is to bring it back a little bit and learn how to pull up the kneecap and to move the thigh bone into the back of the thigh. You have to see that this leg becomes straight and then just gradually take it up to a 90-degree angle. So just have a look at your leg and see, is it extended? Is it lengthening? And then with a downward leg, you have to extend it even more, but in a downward action. So the thigh needs to push down strongly. You're lengthening into the heel bone and bringing those toes towards you. So what's very important with this action is that it's almost as if you are stretching this heel towards the wall. Now, those of you who can use a wall, then it's a really good way of working to keep this really active and strong. The whole of the leg will feel that fulcrum. So that's a good way of practicing. Continue to extend the leg, the lifted leg, and be sure that the thigh is moving away from the abdomen as much as possible. So you're not trying to get the leg closer towards you at this point. You want to make space in this area. So we're preparing the legs today for Uttanasana, which you've practiced in the first day of our foundation course. And then releasing the leg down and straightening the legs again. So don't be in a rush now. Go back to neutral stage where you're grounding those legs down very strongly. Take your time with this. And then bend your left leg and bring it up and place the belt. Extend the leg up to 90 degrees. And see again that the downward leg is working very strongly. It's active, it's pushing down towards the floor. To get more extension, you have to extend into the heel. And again, as we said on the other side, it may be that you have a wall you can press your heel into, which will be very, very useful. This lifted leg, you have to see that the thigh moves away from the abdomen. So you can see here with Leo, a good way to practice is by putting your hand onto the belly of the thigh and pushing it back. So get an idea of lengthening those fibers. Remember, when they stay tight, it's difficult to create any of the poses with tight legs, tight hamstrings. So continue to push strongly away from the abdomen. And then take hold of the belt and be in your pose. See that you're reaching up into the belt with the ball of the foot, and then pull on the belt a little bit into the ball of the foot. So you get this double action in the leg, and then release down. And again, once you've watched the video, you've practiced, you can practice this several times. We're just going to do the once now, and we're coming back to a few of the poses in day one. So roll to your right side and come up into a standing position. So firstly, we're going to stand at the end of the mat for Tadsasana. I'm going to put these bricks here just to show you that when you practice yoga, you can practice yoga if you have a stiff body. That's a really good reason why you need to be practicing yoga, so that you can get the action in the body through using the prop work and lengthening the muscular body. So lift up out of the pelvis. Be sure that you're grounding down into the heels, lifting through the center of the body. Put your hands onto your frontal pelvic rims and lift above. Now hinge forward, hinge forward, hinge forward, hinge forward. Now take your hands onto the bricks, if you have yoga bricks, or if you can manage to maintain the leg work, then you can take your hands to the floor. But this sometimes can be very challenging. And what tends to happen is the back takes over, and this will give you a worse back than when you started. So this is not the action. Remember those leg lifts just now, how you moved your thighs away from your abdomen? The same here has got to happen. And if it's not possible, then you have to put your hands onto the bricks. So remember, less is best. Get the action, build the framework, and then see that you get the muscles really nice and long. So from here we come for Adho Svanasana, dog head down. So taking your hands to the floor, if you need to bend the knees, do so. Then step or jump, if you're able to, the legs back. Come into Adho Svanasana. Now, with this pose, you have to see that the wrists are pushing down into the palms so that they're giving you a fulcrum. So everything above the elbow can lift all the way up, all the way through the side waist, and then you have to see that this large bone at the base of the spine is moving into the back of the legs. You've got to see that it moves towards the back buttock. So the pelvis has got to extend and lengthen so strongly, and the legs need to push back. Now, if the legs are bent and they're soft, then you have to see that you rock forward, come forward a little bit, and push back. Push back, that's it. And then come forward a little bit more and push back. So that's a good way, just bringing a little bit of mobility into your dog pose to help get those legs nice and straight. But the first pose that we practice will help if you practice that daily. Soften your knees and come back into Adho Mukha Virasana. Extend the arms forward, coming into this action. So if you were with us on day one, then you'll know that we came into Urdhva Svanasana. Now we're coming to this pose from a bent leg position. So just have a look here from a kneeling position. Now it may be that you can come from a prone position, which we will show in a moment. So see that you lift your abdomen, tuck your toes under, and launch yourself into the action. Press into your wrists and lift up through the center of the body. And then release down. So just showing you the prone version. So tuck your toes under, press into your wrists very strongly, and then see that you lift up. So although we touch these on day one, it's really important that you come into these poses and repeat them on a regular basis and then release down. And just rest your forehead onto your forearms and be in this position. You can turn the toes to touch one another so that you're rolling the thighs out. So keeping the breadth and broadness in the sacral area. We're coming into a Bharadvajasana twisting action. So you're going to need to have a chair for this pose. So coming up. Now we're introducing Bharadvajasana on the chair so that you can get the spinal action. So Leo is going to have her chair and sit sideways on. So you don't have to have a yoga chair to practice this pose in this way, just have a chair nearby. You can see that Leo's sitting up nice and tall. So the same applies when you're in Tadsasana, which we touched on day one. When you're sitting in this seated position, and then you need to lift up, and again, bring this into your life. When you sit down, see that you get that lift through the center of the body to ground into those buttock bones very strongly, ground into the feet. Now we're going to turn to the back of the chair and hold on to the back of the chair. Now use the chair as a fulcrum, pull on the chair to lift up even more and get that turning action. So this is a really nice way to start or to begin the understanding of the twisting action of the spine. Keep the chest lifted and then release the pose. And just turning yourself around. Now ground down into the feet, into the base of the pose. See that you ignite the action through the center of the body. Continue to lift all the way up, keeping the spine nice and upright. Ascend. Then turning towards your chair, taking your hands. Now use the chair as a fulcrum to lift up even more. As you lift, you'll be able to continue that twisting action. If you find that this is a challenging action, then practice, getting the lift. When you come into the twist, it's really important that you reach into it. If you let go of that extension, as you can see if Leo, the twist will come, well, hardly at all. So it's very important that you use the back of the chair as the fulcrum to get the lift and the turn. And then release. And again, you can practice this several times. When you come out of the pose, when we say release, it doesn't mean to say collapse. You have to still maintain that lift of the spine. So we're going to come off the chair now. We're coming into a pose called a Virasana action. And for this, we're going to need to have a couple of foam pads.
Show from the back.
Yeah. So as you can see here, kneeling can be very difficult for lots of people when they start yoga. And it may be that you need to have 3 or 4 pads, or this pose may just be a little bit challenging at this moment in time. It's really important that you grip the sides of the feet into the sides of the foam pads. Make space in the back of the knees. So this whole calf area needs to broaden and spread. So you can do this with your own fingers. As you can see, Leo is extending here. Now this is a good habit to get into for your Virasana, and then lengthen and come back into a seated position. Take your hands so that the fingers are facing towards the toes. Now, you saw just now that Leo was moving her little toes and her toes away from one another. This is another good habit to get into. And then placing the palms. Press down into the palms and lift up through the center of the body. So it's really important that you get this action to understand the grounding of the shin, And be sure that you're high enough so there isn't the strain in the joints. If you're able to maintain this action, then of course you can take a foam pad away, and even you can sit between your heels. But get the essence of the action before you start going into the full pose. Keep the chest broad, keep the lift through the centre of the body, and then releasing the pose. And coming to Sukhasana. So when you come into your Sukhasana, again, if your knees are high, then you're going to need to sit on some support, how we did in the Virasana just now. You see Leo's going up onto the support. So if the knees are high, then it's really good to lift the base of the spine so that the knees go down. And this will encourage, through time, when you regularly sit in this pose, this will encourage the length in the spine. So sit nice and tall, keep the chest lifted. It's really important after your practice to actually just have this time before you go off and continue with your day. We hope you enjoyed this video.
Thank you for joining us today, and remember, keep practicing. Namaste.